Good morning, children. It's Monday, 1st June 2020. Now, we are about to end with Street Child. Next week will be the last week of Street Child. Hope everybody enjoyed their half term and everybody is ready to start learning again. Okay? Now, today we'll be doing the next chapter of Street Child. Now, the resources that you will need for today's lesson are a pen and a sheet of paper. So, I'm going to wait for a few minutes whilst you get your pen and your sheet of paper. Now, our learning intention today is I can understand and use different types of connectives in my writing. Success criteria: I'm able to identify connectives in a piece of text. I understand the different types of connectives. I can use a wide range of connectives to form complex sentences. Now, today we are going to read chapter 18. I will be reading the beginning of the lesson for you, and you can read the rest of the chapter silently in your mind. Chapter 18. You can do it, brother. It was autumn. The procession on the river was headed by a washing tub drawn by 6 geese. Men swam behind it. All the barges and lighters were decorated with flags and flowers and white rags that fluttered like feathers of swans. Some of the men were being rolled down the river in barrels to hoots of laughter. The banks were lined with watchers, all dressed in bright rags and shiny coats, playing bugles and beating drums. A family of beggars was singing hymns, and the tiny voices of the children piped like birds. It was the miners' pageant, and the lily drifted along in the procession, freed from work for the day. Nick and his fellows shouted to each other and sang. Now read the rest of the chapter very silently in your minds. Now, here are a few guided reading questions. Now, children, this time I will not be giving you the answers to the guided reading questions. You have to actually write the answers and send it to me on my email address, because many a times I'm seeing that children go on the next slide and you have the same answers that I have written on the next slide. So I want you actually to think hard, read the chapter once again, and then answer the questions so that I know that none of you have actually copied the answers from the next slide. So I will not be giving you the answers. I'll just be reading the questions and then you can write the answers from the chapter. Now, the guided reading questions. Describe all the things you might be able to see, smell, and hear at the miners' pageant. What evidence implies that Nick has drunk too much ale? What does Jim use to cut the rope around his neck? How might the story have changed if Snipe had woken up? How does the author create tension in this chapter? Now, think about what you have read in the entire chapter and then answer the questions. Okay? It doesn't matter if you get one or two questions wrong, but see that you read the chapter perfectly, read it properly once again, and then answer the questions. Now, today in SPAG, we'll be learning about connectives. Now, we have done this lots and lots of times, but I just want you to revise connectives once again. Okay, so today we are going to be looking at connectives. Look at the piece of text below, read it through carefully, and then write down all of the connectives on your whiteboards. Peter and Sasha walked briskly down the road because they knew that off they were late for school again. Mrs. Williams would not be pleased. As they turned the corner, Peter saw the school bus pulling away from the bus stop. He began to run, but Sasha just couldn't keep up. Peter could have made it, however, he did not want to leave his friend behind, so he slowed down and watched the bus head off down the road, spitting clouds of thick grey smoke into the air. So it did so until it disappeared completely from view. Now, I've read this passage for you. You are going to underline the connectives. Write the passage once again in your books and then underline all the connectives that you can find in the passage. Like, so for example, Peter and Sasha walked briskly down the road of because they knew that they were late for if they were late for school again, Mrs. Williams would not be pleased. So instead of the of, it should actually be if. Okay. So here I can see because is a connective in the first sentence. So find out the remaining connectives and underline them in your books. I'm going to pause the slide so that you can write the paragraph and underline the connectives. Okay, how did you do? Did you identify all the connectives? So, and is a connective, Peter and Sasha. Because is a connective, okay. But is a connective. However is a connective. So, and until. So, all the words that are actually in green are the connectives. So, a connective is a word that joins either two words together or two sentences together. Okay, now there are different kinds of connectives, there are different types of connectives. The first are time connectives, connectives that tell us something when something happened. Causal connectives, connectives that tell us why something happened. Adding connectives, connectives that give us more information about what's happening in the sentences. Comparison connectives, connectives that help us to compare one thing to another. Now, for causal connectives, these are the connectives that are used when they are causal connectives. So, words such as because, as, since, therefore, so, as a result, and consequently. Then, time connectives first, secondly, next, then, later, after, subsequently, and so on. Adding connectives and also in addition, comparison connectives, but, however, although, though, yet, nevertheless. And then you have your qualifying connectives, which is if, or, then, unless, whether, whenever, which. Okay, so these are all the connectives. Now look at the sentences below. Decide which connective would fit best in the gap. You will need to justify your suggestion, so think carefully. You can see here how the gap where your connective needs to go joins the two separate clauses. David wanted to go to the park, something Ahmed was not interested. Okay, so what connective will go in the blank there? Quickly Pat span around, something he saw the beast in front of him. An avalanche will happen without warning, something you need to get help as soon as possible. Okay, so decide which connective will actually go there. Okay, so write down the sentences and then fill in the correct connectives. You can email to me all your answers, and I will be happy to mark all your answers. Now, your task is you're going to complete the sentences below by writing a conjunction in each space. Okay, so conjunction and connectives are one and the same. Conjunction is just another term for a connective. Jim knew he might get caught, something he didn't care, he had to escape. Okay, so what conjunction will go there? Jim got a piece of coal, something, used it to cut away at the rope around his neck. He had to work carefully and quietly, something, Snipe and Nick might wake up. It's a very short task. You just have to fill in the correct connective so that you can get the right answer. Okay. Now, uh, you've got a couple of other SPAC activities before this as well. So, write all of that down on your sheet of paper and then email to me on the year 5 email address. Okay. Good luck with the task, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.